Welcome back to the Iron Couch, recapping Season 1, Episode 5 of House of the Dragon. If you like my videos, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss anything. This week's episode took me forever because A, I was busy, and B, there was just way too much to unpack in this episode. Somebody finally made an even bigger scene than Daemon for once. The food at a wedding looks like surprisingly gross. Things are really finally starting to heat up. So let's find out what else happened in our last episode with our young actors for Rhaenyra and Alicent. So I'm going to start with Daemon. After being exiled for like the 17th time this week, he finally goes back to Runestone.
Husband?
Just to murder his wife. So we get to meet her and lose her all in like 5 minutes. All it really takes is her talking just a little bit of shit to him too.
I knew you couldn't finish. Craven!
He is kind of a dick. I don't know why everybody loves him so much. So after kind of knocking her off her horse and finishing her off with a rock, which doesn't exactly go with what the books say, but it doesn't really go against what they say, we really don't see him again until he crashes the wedding and gets uncomfortably close to Rhaenyra and kind of stresses the king out, like he always does. But it is funny because when shit hits the fan, he completely disappears. He just vanishes from the scene.
Lurk.
We do get kind of a cool scene with his now dead wife's cousin sort of trying to threaten him in front of the king and everybody else.
I am making an accusation.
And he turns the tables on that, so we'll see how that plays out and if he ends up murdering everybody at Runestone. Then we go move on to Alicent. So this episode, we got to see her say goodbye to her dad, and maybe for the first time, he showed some actual affection towards her. Since he got fired as the Hand and everything, apparently he doesn't want to stick around at all, and just kind of leaves her in the rain now that he's put her and her kid in danger with all of his little plots and schemes.
Schemes and plots are the same thing.
Once she's all alone and kind of at her lowest point, we have Larys Strong, the Clubfoot, and that dude really seems like he's going to be a major player. He kind of starts whispering in her ear and sort of little fingering his way into everything. He also drops the dime about the tea that the king gave to Rhaenyra, and that sets a few other things in motion for Alicent. She confronts Criston Cole about whether or not Daemon and Rhaenyra got together, and instead, Criston plays himself and admits that he was actually the one that was over there clapping Targaryen cheeks. That's something that Alicent had never even thought of, so it really takes her by surprise. And it's pretty obvious that Criston Cole is just ready to be done with everything. Later on, she comes into the hall and gives a big showstopper entrance in her green dress, which if you've read the books, that's kind of a big red flag, so to speak. And the hate that she's got for Rhaenyra now is plain when she talks to her.
Congratulations, stepdaughter. What a blessing this is for you.
Suddenly she seems a lot more grown up and maybe even a little bit dangerous. And the king. I actually really feel sorry for this dude. He has a constant look of just frustration on his face. And now he's really starting to fall apart. Every episode, he seems to get worse and worse. We see just how bad it is when he sails out to Driftmark, and it just takes a toll on him. And so does the negotiations with Corlys about the marriage between Laenor Velaryon and Princess Rhaenyra. Mostly the details of the marriage, specifically names and succession. Who's going to be on the Iron Throne, a Velaryon or a Targaryen? And by the time they get back from there, we see just how sick he really is. He looks terrible. His entire left arm is all screwed up, and I don't know if that's something they have on it or I don't know what's wrong with it, but he is definitely in bad shape. He pulls himself together pretty good for the wedding feast, and even deals with Daemon showing up, as usual, to try to screw things up, and lets him have a place up at the table with everyone. Mind you, he just banished him, again, not very long ago. And like I said, the poor man just forever looks like somebody drank his last beer right when he was reaching for it. And then he gets interrupted mid-speech by Queen Alicent and her room-silencing entrance. Then we get to see probably the most tense dance and dinner ever. And the whole time it just seems like everything is crushing in on the king, just wearing him out. The camera angles, the music, everything just drops right in his face. That's all topped off by a nosebleed, and then him passing out at the actual wedding between Rhaenyra and Laenor. Now Rhaenyra spends this episode basically making moves and stomping on the heart of Criston Cole.
You can actually pinpoint the second when his heart rips in half. And now.
When they go to Driftmark, she gets to walk along the beach and have a nice long talk with her future husband, Laenor Velaryon, about their different tastes in food. And they agree almost like a business proposition that they'll make an heir for the Iron Throne, but they're each going to kind of go their way with sort of a medieval open marriage kind of thing.
I'm like, oh, baby, oh, baby. And she's like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
All of her plans seem to be going pretty well until the way home when Sir Criston, who obviously has a really high opinion of himself in the sack, decides that they need to have a talk. He basically asks her to bail on the Iron Throne and just take off and marry him.
I suffer from a very sexy learning disability. What do I call it, Kif?
Sexlexia.
That's not something she's into. When she turns him down, his reaction's kind of the first in many, many cracks that are about to start forming in everybody's plans. At the dinner, Rhaenyra plays her part with Laenor to the T, and then, of course, has to go toe-to-toe with Daemon and doesn't back down from him. Not that she ever has, but handles all of this like a true champ. After the death stares from Alicent, and a bit of a hood moment from Criston Cole, she ends up, at the end of the night, married a little sooner than she thought. All the secrets and lies are really starting to pile up on everybody during this, and after Sir Criston's face-smashing event, I'm not really sure how things will work out between her and Laenor and their new relationship. Sir Criston is not a stable dude. He's not a great lord. He doesn't come from some great, powerful, ancient family. Pretty much all he has is his white cloak. Being the Kingsguard is everything for him. When he broke his oath with Rhaenyra, that messed him up. When he found out she had to marry Laenor Velaryon, that messed him up just a bit more. And when he figured out a way to try to get his honor back by marrying Rhaenyra, and then she turned him down in what he felt like was his only chance to redeem himself, that messed him the rest of the way up. By the time he rats himself out to Queen Alicent, I think he's already figured out that death is his only way out of this. So, when Sir Joffrey Loudmouth, protector and very good friend to Laenor Velaryon, decides he's going to play this little, well, I know your secret and now you know that I know game, he could not have possibly picked a worse time and person. Sir Criston has a hood moment, snaps, and beats Sir Joffrey's face in. After he's done taking out his weak on Homeboy's face, he wanders off to the Godswood and decides he's going to end it Last Samurai style before Alicent catches up with him and stops him. There is just no wedding in the Game of Thrones universe that is safe. I'm sure every single wedding that has ever happened has had something horrible go on right in the background. Instead of the red wedding, I almost want to call this the green dinner. I love the entire dinner scene, though. Everything. Alicent's walk in, the way the Valyrians came strolling in, even the way Viserys always has that look on his face every time somebody interrupts him or screws up one of his plans. It was a great scene. The way everything was shot, the music, the close-ups, it doesn't get much more tense than that. And for once, Daemon came in second in the stirring shit up contest. I couldn't believe that. I remember from all the previews Sir Criston beating somebody's ass, but I wasn't expecting it to be this.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
I think this is my favorite scene so far in the entire show. I also think the drummer that we got in the whole dinner scene, I think that was supposed to be Mushroom, or like a shout out to Mushroom, so I'll stop bitching about him not being here. We did get a quick look at, well, some of Runestone and the Vale out there. That was kind of cool. I think we saw it in Game of Thrones at some point, but I can't really remember. We only spent a few minutes there, before Daemon straight up murders his wife with a rock. We also got a really good look at Driftmark, and in particular, the Castle of High Tide, the seat of Corlys Velaryon. He kept a bunch of treasures up there in his throne room, I guess, including things like the Crab Feeder's mask. I'm pretty sure we also got our first look at Meleys, the Red Queen. That'd be Princess Rhaenyra's dragon. I think that was her and Laenor flying back to King's Landing during that scene. That was also a pretty, progressive conversation that we got between Rhaenyra and Laenor.
We perform our duty to our fathers and to the realm. And when it's done, each of us dines as we see fit.
I don't know if it's super common in Westeros to have an open relationship, but I wasn't expecting that kind of conversation. And the Strongs. Now we have one Strong as the hand, and then we have, I don't know if it's supposed to be brothers or father and son, the Clubfoot, and the other guy, which I'm pretty sure is Breakbones. The rat at the very end of the episode was kind of interesting too. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be signifying something about the king's health and all that kind of stuff, or if it's supposed to maybe be a little Easter egg for things to come. Either way, this episode took me forever to get put together, so I hope I can get it out before episode 6. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like and subscribe, and hit that bell notification, that way you don't miss whenever I put out my next video.